Mic check, mic check. What's going on, world? You already know it's your boy SB, and I'd like to welcome y'all back to episode 27 of season 5 of the Roll Up Podcast. As always, before we get started, I want to say thank you to each and every one of y'all that have subscribed to the podcast, whether it be YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. I want to say thank you for supporting the movement via social media. Thank you for spreading the movement via word of mouth and allowing this podcast to be a beacon of positivity in your journey. The reason why we are headed in the direction that we're going is credit to the love and support that y'all give day in and day out. And like Wayne said, and as I'm going to continue to say throughout the second quarter, I shall forever give thanks like a pilgrim. But before we go any further, you know we got to handle some business first. I would like to extend the invitation, if you haven't done so already, to subscribe, like, and comment to the campaign on YouTube at the Sauce Brady Experience. You can also follow the movement via social media at the Roll Up Podcast on Instagram and Threads. Be sure to tap into the SauceBradyExperience.com. That's the official hub of the Roll Up Podcast. I got a lot of great segments that are about to get added to the movement, and the one way to not miss a beat is to tap into the hub and stay up to date with what's to come. Also, be sure to check out the Sauce Factory and the spot to grab you some merch. You can use code TRUPOD, that's TRUPOD, to receive 30% off your merch. And remember, each merch purchase qualifies you to win an autographed copy of my second book titled You Deserve Better. Speaking of my second book, you can find my first and second book available right now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. My first one is titled Here's the Truth, and my second one obviously is You Deserve Better. They both are great reads, whether you're on day 1 or day 421. The content is still relatable, and it's going to give you the extra nudge to keep going. I will also be starting a new campaign titled Gaming with Sauce, where I live stream some of my favorite video games, and we also do a Q&A so we can chop it up and connect with one another. I'm excited to embark on this live stream journey, so y'all stay tuned for that next campaign. Now that we got the business out of the way, it's time that we get down with the get down. Somewhere along this journey, you're going to get tired. Things are going to take longer to pan out than you expected, and it seems as if you're running out of gas. It is in these times that we find the strength to keep going. In this episode, I'm going to share with you a few pointers on how to keep going when you're tired, and also how to reach in this reserve at will. As always, we're going to kick the episode off with a quote, and today's inspiration comes from Ken Morris, and it reads, "Mental toughness is finding fuel on an empty tank." To become mentally tough, one must learn how to master how we respond to certain situations. On this journey to self-improvement, there will be times where life is trying to pull your card. There will be times where it seems that you can't catch a break. But it is in these moments that dictates what happens next. The adversities that we face, the scenarios that we encounter, and the negative mindsets that we have all serve one purpose, and that's to derail us from getting to our calling. Seeing that worrying about the past and the future is distracting us from the present, why do we continue to feed the distractions instead of focusing on the prize? Why do we let minutes wreak havoc on our 24 hours? It's simple. It's because we lack mental toughness. My football coach always told us that there's a difference between being hurt and being injured. He said that we can play through hurt, but injury requires time off. And when you think about it, and all the things that distract us and ultimately hurt us, we often have the tendency to rationalize an excuse to stop us from putting in the work. And this is where mental toughness comes in. Sometimes, especially now, it is critical that we learn to play through the pain. Same way we're going on vacation during a rainy day. You don't set out for the beach and turn around because of the weather. You fight the storm until you reach sunny skies again. You driving through that storm is equivalent to the hard times that you're in. When you're convicted in your destination, you will not stop for anything or anyone because you've invested too much time and resources to only come this far. You've been through too much for this to be the final stop. And this episode is a reminder to you that it's time to become mentally tough. When it comes to building up your mental stamina or mental toughness, a few things need to take place. For one, you must learn to be positive. There's a silver lining in all situations, and in order to grow into the person you need to be, you have to learn to find a way to lock in on them. You must also be a self-starter, because like we said in the last episode, when we learn to validate ourselves, we aren't afraid to be bold in our decision making. It's extremely important to pray, meditate, and visualize the outcome of what we want, even if it plays out differently than you want. After you get back up, this mental toughness will reignite the faith required to see the mission through. Lastly, we must be prepared. Going to mental war, without your weapons of affirmation is a dangerous game. You must be prepared, especially if traveling solo, to be prepared to kick yourself back in gear. When you learn to be a positive person, you are mastering positive thinking. When you master positive thinking, you learn how to talk to yourself. When you learn how to talk to yourself, you replace the negative narrative in your mind and replace with things that are more beneficial. To be completely honest with you, learning to be positive through hard times is one of the most challenging aspects of the process. But like I mentioned before, you can't be in two places in the same time. Practicing to find that silver lining is the best piece of advice I can give, because when tempers are hot and you don't have a lid screwed on tight, anything and everything can and will come out of your mouth. And saying words aren't like typing on the keyboard. You can't erase it or take it back, because once you said it, you said it. Mental toughness also requires you to be a self-starter. When you have the ability to jumpstart a task or take the initiative to be the first to break generational curses, you're displaying an insane amount of courage. To go places where nobody you know has been, you have to do things that nobody is willing to do. And nobody is coming to wake you up and to tell you it's time to get to work. Nobody's going to come up and say, hey man, don't you think you should be doing X, Y, and Z? You have to be willing to make those decisions on your own. When your back is against the wall and you realize that no one is coming to save you, that is the make it or break it moment. That is the fork in the road where you either get off your ass and keep going, or you rationalize an excuse to quit. Because I'm going to tell you, a lot of people are going to tell you that it's time to quit, especially if they know what you've been through. But keep in mind that all advice isn't good advice. Some people will validate your decision to walk away just so they can throw it in your face later. Or when they get around certain people, they're going to try to comfort you and say that you set your goals too high and it's okay to settle. This is your reminder that it's not okay to settle. Get off your ass, validate yourself, and get back in the fight. It's also important that we take a few moments of the day to pray, meditate, visualize, get grounded, get centered, whatever it is you do to get back in that mode. For me, I do most of my critical thinking in the shower and before I go to sleep at night. I have 2 kids that run nonstop from the ass crack of dawn until the late hours of the night. And those 10 to 15 minutes in the shower are probably the most intentional minutes I have during the day. Because in the shower, gradually making the water hotter, I begin to do gratitude exercises. Daily, I run down a list of things I'm grateful for, and I take some time to say thank you for being able to do what I do day in and day out. I visualize myself reaching my goals and living the life I want to live. I put myself in those rooms, those conversations, those bank accounts, so it's fresh on my mind throughout the day. Your routine may vary, but the end goal should be the same. As I've said before, a calm mind is fertile soil for you to plant the seeds of your dreams. Make time in the day to set your intentions. Be clear on what you ask for, see the mission as accomplished, then get out of that mode and get ready to get to work to manifest your goals. Lastly, mental toughness calls for you to be prepared. No one expects bad things to happen to them, but when they do, we must be prepared to pull ourselves above how we feel and think logically. We must be prepared with positive mantras, affirmation, and other positive words that speak to our souls when we can't see the way. These words of life may seem foreign at first, but after training yourself to be able to be positive through all situations, you will see a dramatic change in how you feel during adversity. When we are at peace in the process, we will understand that disappointment is a part of the game. Things don't work out the way we want them to. Rejection, loss of certain relationships, and etc. They're all a part of the game plan. And being equipped with positive mantras will help clear the fog in order for you to continue to press towards the mark. Is it easy? Absolutely not. Is it worth it? 100%. Feelings are what make us human. But when it comes to chasing our goals and pursuing our calling, it's our choice to keep going that determines whether we are the solution to the problem or we're stepping away from the occasion. The moral of today's story is simple. We must learn to find fuel on the empty tank. Using the 3 steps that we just talked about, learning to stay positive, being a self-starter, and visualizing the process and the end goal, you will find a way to charge your battery on your journey to success. Again, if it was easy, everybody would do it. But since it's arguably one of the hardest parts of the process, majority of people will give up. But that's what separates us from them. When we learn how to become grounded in gratitude, we are taking charge and not letting that voice in our heads win. As we continue to put the work in all 2024, let's keep today's episode in mind. You're going to get to where you're supposed to be, only if you do the work required to get there. Let's practice being focused on the mission and continuing to make every play intentionally. Don't cheat yourself by thinking about how hard the journey is and give up before you get started. Don't cheat yourself by thinking because a dream is taking too long to manifest that maybe it isn't for you. Abandon that mentality and pick up the mentality that it will happen, and watch how it increases your work ethic. Watch how easy it becomes to show up for yourself and your goals when you let go of the dead thoughts that are keeping you in a negative thought cycle. Yes, there is a higher power working on your behalf, but you also got to learn to rely on yourself to show up day in and day out until the mission is complete. As always, I want to thank each and every one of y'all for y'all continuous support. Make sure y'all tap into the SauceBradyExperience.com, grab you some merch, win you a book, or you can, grab a book or two, maybe more if you're feeling risky. Be on the lookout for the Sauce Brady Experience YouTube channel. I got some dope visual content that's getting ready to drop, so make sure y'all stay tapped in for that as well. And, again, like, comment, share, and subscribe to the podcast. And as always, man, roll you a fatty because you deserve it. You already know it's your boy. I'm going to holler at you. Peace.